exhibition. Here are the major stories. Visit of the President of the Republic to the opening exhibition. And on the international scene, Pomp traveled to the Senegalese for the start of his tour of Africa. Those were the headlines. Thanks for joining us in our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, received today at the Presidential Palace the British Somalian international runner, Mr. Mohamed Farah, known as Mo Farah International Hostility Greeting to the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, and his wife, First Lady, President of the National Union of Women of Djibouti, Ms. Khadra Mohamed Haid, and the Secretary of the Prime Minister Najib Abdullah Kamil. Under the high patronage of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, the plastic exhibition of the Djiboutian artist and former Minister Rifki Abdul Qadir Bamakrama in the opening ceremony was opened today at the People's Palace. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, after the opening, was in the exhibition, was also there. The President of the Republic accompanied his senior guests to inspection his wings and viewed a painting bearing the character of our creative artist, his wide imagination and his unique approach to different topics that reflects the social, cultural and the reality of Djibouti. The President of the Republic has expressed his admiration for the wonderful artist's works, include the exhibition calling on the artist Rifki Abdul Qadir Bamakrama and the open work to continue this artist creation by producing more of these works that deserve to be acquired and preserved in our country. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, reflects his interest, generous materials and moral support for creators in various artistic and cultural fields that have a positive impact on the development of society, the psychological states of members of a society and in our social life and social cohesion. Therefore, it is a tool of a global understanding. The economic importance of art lies in the creation new jobs, opportunities, and increasing the workforces, which contributes significantly to increasing the gross domestic product and developing the state's economic. Many members of the government, parliamentarians, and senior civilians and military personalities participate in this event. In a statement to the national TV, the artist Rifki Abdulkadir Bamakrama stressed his thanks and gratitude to the President of the Republic for honoring the occasion of the opening of the annual exhibition that include many of his artists' production. His Excellency the President of the Republic Ismail Omar Guelleh, who honored the exhibition in his experience and his presence, praised the artist Rifki Abdulkadir Bamakrama for completing these artists' works that deserve to be acquired and preserved, said the President.
In the school buu iska yahay keligiisba ma garanaysaa kolka inaan dee sanadkii kastiba kol wixii uu hawl soo qabtay dadku dee ma dareemayaan laakiin waa wax weyn oo shaqo badan doonaya iyo caqli loox waliba waxa uu matalayo ama uu ka tarjumayo ama uu u jeedo ama uu doonayo inuu muujiyo waan hambalyeynayna maxaan ku yiraahdaa dhalinyarada kalena inay ku daydaan baan rajeynaa.
Under the chairmanship of the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Muhammad Ali Ahmed, this morning held a workshop on the establishment of a parliamentary coalition for food security and nutrition was held within the National Assembly. Representative of the United Nations agencies in Djibouti, including the FAO representative and the coordinators of United Nations organization in Djibouti, participated in this event. Ms. Barbara Menzi and several members of the parliament. This workshop witnessed the participation of the honorary president of the Alliance, Mr. Dileita Mohammed, the former Prime Minister of Djibouti. The mission of the Parliamentary Alliance is to provide more support to the strengthen the activities of agricultural cooperative that play a fundamental roles in the development of agriculture and food security. In an intervention by the FAO representative on this occasion, he indicated that this workshop aimed to officially launch. Let's listen to him.
Who have participated since the beginning of this discussion in the various regional meetings and workshops. The missions of this parliamentary alliance that we are setting up will be to provide the country with legal tools to better combat food insecurity. In addition to the legislative aspect, this structure will also act as an advocate body towards the executive to implement social policies to enforce the provisions of the law. To achieve this, not only the design law but also adequate public budgets and a solid legal framework are needed to consolidate progress and improve the food system.
In an intervention by the honorary president of the Parliamentary Alliance to fight against malnutrition, hunger, Mr. Mohammed Dileita pointed out the importance of stabilizing farming in this alliance, and he said details in this report.
Parlementaire qui sera formé à l'issue de cette réunion.
The Parliamentary Alliance that will be formed at the end of this meeting is a testimony to the strong commitment of our elected representatives to redefine this age-old scourge. Our country is facing a food and nutrition challenge that has become a major concern over time. The available national data on food security and undernutrition among the youngest age group shows a high level of global malnutrition. In order to meet this challenge, the government, with the support of development partners, has taken the necessary measures. Very early on, through the establishment of an appropriate national legal and political framework, the essential role of lawmakers in the fight against hunger and malnutrition is well established. Also the fruit of a decade of positive experiences drawn from the best parliamentary practices in many countries. Our commitment as parliamentarians should not be limited only to initiating normative and budgetary reforms relating to the fight against hunger and malnutrition and to monitoring government action as leading political actors. Our mission is above all to promote awareness of the challenges facing us at all levels of society. And this work begins here in this chamber, with the regular lack of island briefings for our honorable colleagues, especially newly elected representatives, at the time of the renewal of the mandate.
In his speech for this occasion, the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Muhammad Ali Hamad, pointed out the importance of this occasion, which is devoted to establishing the Parliamentary Alliance of Food and Agricultural Security. Details in this report.
C'est pour moi un plaisir et un honneur de mettre en place notre alliance parlementaire pour la sécurité alimentaire et la nutrition.
It is a pleasure and an honor for me to establish our Parliamentary Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition within our institution. By this act, our country becomes the fifth member country of the West African Parliamentarian Alliance. The composition of the alliance represents all our regions, as well as the different political sensitivities present in the National Assembly. Our alliance must deploy all possible efforts to improve food security and nutrition. It is incumbent upon us, through the Alliance, to further support the empowerment of agriculture cooperatives, which play a key role in the development of agriculture and food security. Our country is quite vulnerable in this area, and the agriculture policy does not meet the daily needs of our population. That is why I think it is important that the elected representatives of the people who have the capacity to legislate on ascending the national budget and to ensure good governance of the executive branch seize the issue in order to influence the government to adopt a popular policy that fully meets the expectations of the most vulnerable segments of the population. This is why our elected representatives of the people should therefore guide the government's policy to avoid excessive dependence on imports in order to prioritize investment in local food production with a view to building their resilience capacities. In addition, I urge donors to support the development of agriculture, mainly through the regional councils, which are in constant contact with small farmers and the various family farms. Similarly, the various donors must provide support for training, monitoring, and technical advice to farmers. Furthermore, I encourage you to go further into the field and act as a relay between all the actors. You have an important role to play, and I'm counting on you to provide more support to the people in this transition. It is necessary to think with the populations themselves about effective means to retain them in their environment and to create integrated agriculture that would allow them to achieve food autonomy as well as interesting source of income. Improving food and nutrition requires a collective effort. The fight for food and nutritional security is just a cause because it is a necessity for humanity.
The President of the Account Corps, Ms. Ismahan Mahmoud Ibrahim, held an important session on the financial control of the Account Corps agent. This session took place in the presence of the Minister of Justice and in charge of Human Rights, Mr. Ali Hassan Bahdon, the Minister of Budget, Abdul Karim Aden Sher, the Vice President of the National Assembly, and the mediators of the Republic, and several judges. The court prepare a report on the draft internal regulations and declaring general consensus with the aim of enabling Parliament to assess the measure taken by the government in managing the country's financial operation. The financial laws implementation report provides an account of this operation and assess the regulatory it is also gives the financial position of the country and the general declaration of conformity and draw up in the light of administrative account of a state accountant, the general account of financial management, and the administrative account of the authorized employee. The Supreme Audit Institution took this opportunity to emphasize the importance of the accountability for the purpose of establishing good financial management as required by the basic principles of the public accounting.
Ces deux rapports s'inscrivent dans les missions de conseil et d'information qui contrôlent la
The Minister of Justice and the President in charge of human rights, Ali Hassan Bahdon, stressed in his speech the effort that have been made by the Court of Accountability. Details in this report.
Aujourd'hui, notre institution de contrôle des finances publiques peut rivaliser avec les institutions de contrôle qui existent de par le monde.
Today, our public financial audit institution can compete with audit bodies around the world because it exercises this type of audit independently. Furthermore, the Court of Auditors has links with the Ministry of Justice because we are all at the service of law, justice, and our fellow citizens. The Court has challenges. It prepares for them by surrounding itself with the expertise necessary to meet them. In the space of a few years, it has made considerable efforts by regularly producing accessible reports, issuing recommendations, and working on the development of a code of ethics. The work shows full professional investment in the implementation of the tasks entrusted to it by the legislature. Although the Court of Auditors is to be congratulated, in each of these reports, it makes recommendations and points out the obstacles it is encountering. It is therefore up to us to ensure that these recommendations are followed up with the action and to enable it to be operational and effective. On the other hand, so that the obstacles are removed. To do so, it needs the involvement of all stakeholders. It has been given a mandate in other tasks, above all. However, it needs the cooperation of all public enterprises in order to gain the trust of our citizens. The Court of Auditors needs to fully exercise the missions entrusted to me. The involvement of everyone is an absolute necessity for greater reliability, visibility, and credibility of this work. This institution has ambitions to be in line with the accounting standards of the world's countries, but above all, to meet the objectives of sustainable development. This solemn hearing is an opportunity to recall the strengthening of the relations of the Court of Audit with all the stakeholders, institutional and non-institutional, internal and external, for the promotion of good governance. The sanitation of public finances and the improvement of the management of state resources is paramount.
Today, the Higher Institute of Health Science organized an open day for the second time in a row to brief the students who wants to learn about study and the student lives at the Higher Institute and the various stabilization in its effort to these students. The director of the institute, Ms. Nadira Abdullah, in addition to the other invitees, the inauguration program includes on this occasion introductory intervention highlighting the institute's ambition and aspiration towards leadership and the excellence in specialized health education and its work to achieve this in a diligent manner in preparing qualified health care in personalities through the provision of an appropriate educational environment and the high-quality specialized program contributing to the development and capacity-building researches, skill, and solution to some health issues based on evidence and based also on the practices of this evidence. The Minister of Education and Scientific Research's praise in his intervention on the various equipment and he enjoyed by the Higher Institute of Health Science, which is responsible for the rehabilitations and training of personalities. He also highlighted the institute's ambition and aspiration toward leadership and excellence of this specialized health education and its work to achieve this intelligent manner in preparing qualified health care. The Minister of Commerce and Mr. Hassan Ahmed Ibrahim met on Sunday the capital of Riyadh, Minister of Transport in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Engineer Salah bin Nasser, and discussed with him the aspect of joint cooperation between the two countries in the field of transport and logistic goods to African markets through Djibouti and open direct airline between the two countries. In addition, the opening are a direct maritime shipping line between Djibouti and the kingdom to enhance the commercial exchanges process between the two countries. The Minister of Trade informed the Saudi side of the investment opportunities available in the transportation system in the Republic of Djibouti for consideration and presentation to the private sector. The meeting witnessed the presence of the ambassador of Djibouti and the diplomatic corps of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Mr. Din Said Barmakrama and the president of the general authorities for transport in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on the president of the general authorities for the port engineering and also the deputy governor of general authorities for custom to facilitate trade secretary of the logistic committee of this country. A workshop to present the results of a disability prevalence survey was held this morning at the People's Palace. The directors of ANPH, Douali Said Mohamed, and the UNDP representative, Ms. Fatima, and the Secretary General of the CNDH, as well as a representative of concerned ministries, participate in this workshop. The survey will facilitate the provision of a solid base of a baseline and nationally and internationally comparable data, and will help to improve the socio-economic situation of persons with disabilities by guiding development policies and promoting solutions to the problems faced by persons with disabilities. The presentation was made by an engineer from the National Institute of Statistics of Djibouti and the head of communication and the corporation of ANPH, Ms. Muna Abdul Qadir Sadiq. The State Secretary responsible for decentralization affairs organized this morning at the People's Palace a preparatory meeting for the technical workshop on how to translate technical words and administrative terms used in departments in local language in order to develop the performance of employee of a state institution and citizens. This workshop will allow improving communication between state institutions and citizens. The workshop was attended by officials from the ministry and from various ministerial department employees of the Somali Book Club, African Book Club, and professor of University of Djibouti, as well as civil society representatives. The state secretary responsible for decentralization of her works with all ministerial department during this session to coordinate translation operation with the relevant authorities according to the roadmap of this ministry. At the end of this preparatory meeting, data has been set for the second and third days of March. This meant to start this session that will be sponsored by the ministry in charge of decentralization. The Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, in cooperation with the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, launched UNESCO launched at the week of the phenomenon on school dropout. This workshop was shared by the Secretary General of the National Commission for UNESCO and in the presence of head of educational institution and inspectors in the 5 interior region educational advisors, professors and parents, in addition to representatives from working association in the educational file. These initiatives aim to check the light on the reasons that led to school dropout and its negative consequence on society. The phenomenon on school dropout is a disturbing phenomenon for the family and society, as it has a negative effect. This applies to the students themselves and to the family and the community as well. and this required the schools and community to work together to determine the reasons for the school dropout and work to find a solution to the problems before it's too late, as it's affected the child negatively and impact the growth of development of the society and its progress in various areas of life. And this phenomenon occurs to many reasons that should be highlighted to address them and thus solve them, these problems. And this is what we will present in our articles. It should be noted also that this workshop falls within the framework of the effort of Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, aim at the confronting this phenomenon. Still on national news today, Monday, the people of justice hosted, the Palace of Justice hosted an event dedicated to swearing in a contract. This testimony was held in the Court of Appeal and in the presence of the President of the Court of Appeal of Supreme Court Justice. On this occasion, Ms. Hawa Ahmed Dini officially performed the notarized contract. Family members also attend on this occasion, recalling that Ms. Hawa Ahmed Dini was holding a degree on international and European commercial laws from Cairo University in the year 2010, who were appointed to the Judicial Department of the Court of Justice in the year 2012 and the Court of Appeal in the year of 2016. Moving on to the international scene, so far the Trump administration has not made Africa its priority. It is 19 months since the last time an American minister was there. More details in this report.
So far, the Trump administration has not made Africa its priority. It's been 19 months since the last time an American minister was there. And after 2 years at the head of African diplomacy, this is the first visit to the continent of its Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, a 5-day African tour that begins in Dakar. Mike, to remind, this year, 2020, marks 60 years of relations between Senegal and the United States. This visit comes at a time when the Pentagon is considering the partial or even total withdrawal of its troops from the Sahel, as well as the end of its support for the French army in its fight against jihadist groups. Despite this disengagement and Donald Trump's often harsh words about the continent, the United States hopes to maintain its position as the main economic partner of sub-Saharan Africa.
This is it for this edition. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful evening.